Good evening, and we are bringing you the news bulletin from Channel I, from your favorite station, as we are ready to bring you the top stories from home and around the world. I'm Natalia Veerabhadan.
A very good evening indeed. I'm Charita Vinupurarachi, and let's move on to the headlines for tonight's news.
No breakdown at Narachole power plant. Plant will be reconnected to the national grid at midnight today. Failure to build power plants in the past few years is a main cause for the present electricity crisis, Minister Ramesh says. Rural Development Program, a discussion with the village 100,000 work from the budget to commence on the 3rd of this month. Minister Basil and former Divinaguma Director General Kitsuri acquitted from Almanac's case. A three-wheeler collides at a railway crossing. 4 members in the same family have died.
On to those and other stories in detail now, and starting off with local stories. Ceylon Electricity Board says that no breakdown has occurred at the Narachole power plant, but temporarily suspended for a minor maintenance requirement. Accordingly, the power plant will be reconnected to the national grid after midnight today. Minister Gamini Lokoge said that the preliminary measures are underway to reconnect the 300 megawatt generator at the coal power plant to the national grid. However, he said that the engineers at the plant have pointed out a mechanical issue which led to 1 hour temporary stoppage. The minister added that according to the engineers, the issue can be rectified by this evening. The minister further said that the total capacity of the coal plant will be obtained by tomorrow. He pointed out that the diesel and furnace oil required for barge at the Port Kalanithis power plant as well as Sapugaskanda plant will be supplied in the near future. Chairman of the Public Utilities Commission, Chanak Ratnayaka, said that the Ceylon Electricity Board was informed that the recommendations of the Commission is to resolve this prevailing issue by using the standby generators belonging to the wholesale electricity consumers. He said that such an action has to be taken in order to avoid any mishaps during the advanced level examination next week. He said that the Commission expects the Ministry of Power to manage the present situation.
Co-Cabinet spokesman Minister Dr. Ramesh Patirana says that failure to build power plants within the past couple of years is the main cause for the present electricity crisis. He made these remarks while speaking to the media at the virtual meeting held to announce the cabinet decisions. Minister Dr. Ramesh Patirana said that the main cause for the prevailing electricity crisis is the failure to construct a single power plant in the country under the country's electricity generation plan for 6 years since 2014. He said that the electricity has to be purchased based on the capacity for emergency requirements. He added that the President has instructed the Minister of Power to call for tenders, allowing applications from anyone in addition to the existing main electricity plants and private electricity plants. The Minister also expressed his views over the present dollar crisis as well. Minister Dr. Ramesh Patirana said that the existing diesel crisis has occurred as a result of the dollar crisis. He added that the country lost around $10 billion from the tourism industry during the past 2 years. He further added that the total debt payment is at $40 billion. He said that the country's imports are double the amount of exports. Therefore, the President predicted the crisis situation and reached the decision to limit imports and develop the production economic conditions in the country. However, he added that the country's essential requirements such as fuel, pharmaceuticals and essential food items have to be imported into the country, bearing an unavoidable expenditure. He pointed out that the government is taking maximum effort to manage the crisis situation amidst these challenges. Minister Dr. Ramesh Patirana also made remarks over the government discussions on the approach to IMF.
That meeting, and what's the stance on the debt restructuring and managing the debts this year?
No, there was no specific discussion about said topic during yesterday's conversation in the cabinet meeting rather. But that was a constant discussion that we've been speaking about that. We are open to all the institutions and all the ideas. So we have been speaking to IMF as well over a period of time, and it's our government during His Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa's time which has obtained the highest amount of loan from International Monetary Fund. So we keep our doors open, and also at the same time we speak to World Bank, Asian Development Bank, also other agencies. So we have honored the first 500 million US dollar repayment this year. Yes, we need to pay another 1 billion US dollar by June. We are trying to manage the situation, and also at the same time we are trying to restructure. We are in discussion with all the agencies. Hopefully we should be able to manage the current crisis within 6 months time down the line.
The Rural Development Programme, a discussion with the village, 100,000 work from the budget, covering 336 Division Secretariat divisions island-wide, will commence on February 3rd. The Cabinet of Ministers considered the submissions presented by the Finance Minister, stating that necessary arrangements have already been facilitated. This initiative will be commenced according to a proposal made in the Budget 2022. Under this program, the project identification process is completely decentralized, enabling the public to identify their needs respectively. The program will be carried out covering all 14,021 Gram Niladhari divisions belonging to the 336 Divisional Secretariat divisions. The Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval to a proposal presented by Minister Udayagammanpila to supply crude oil for the Sapagaskanda oil refinery. Necessary steps have been taken to obtain crude oil for the Sapagaskanda oil refinery until July this year, and arrangements will be made to procure crude oil required for the next period as per the proposal. Discussions have been conducted by the Ministry of Energy with the Indian Oil Company to procure 40,000 metric tons of diesel and 40,000 metric tons of petrol. Accordingly, the Indian Oil Company has agreed to supply a shipment of 30,000 metric tons of diesels. The Cabinet of Ministers has agreed on the proposal tabled by the Minister Udayagammanpila to take further measures to purchase the relevant oil consignment. The Cabinet of Ministers has also granted approval for the proposal submitted by Minister Udayagammanpila to enter into an agreement between Sri Lanka Petroleum Development Authority and an Indian company to conduct a feasibility study on the pilot project on green hydrogen production.
And meanwhile, the Colombo High Court has acquitted Minister Basil Rajapaksa and former Director General of Divi Naguma Development Department Kitsuri Ranawaka from all charges pertaining to the printing and distribution of 5 million almanacs during 2015 presidential election period. Declaring the verdict, Colombo High Court Judge Jamit Totavatta mentioned that the evidence presented by the plaintiff was dismissed due to the failure to prove the charges. Charges were filed against the Minister and the Director General of Divi Naguma for allegedly printing and distributing 5 billion almanacs with the image of former President candidate Mahinda Rajapaksa at a cost of 29.4 million rupees belonging to the Divi Naguma department in 2015 presidential election period. Accordingly to the statement recorded from Dilan Kaluarachi from Divi Naguma department, the printing process of the almanacs had begun in 2011. Accordingly, the quantities of almanacs for the year 2015, which have been identified as the basis for the court case, has been carried out in the latter part of 2014, the judge mentioned during the hearing. An image of the President Mahinda Rajapaksa planting a sapling at the Divi Naguma National Programme has also been included in the printed almanacs. According to a directive issued by the Election Commissioner, during the presidential election period, the distribution of almanacs was suspended on December 30, 2014. The judge pointed out that the available evidence has proven that the printing and the distribution process related to the disputed almanacs have been carried out within a systematic procedure. The judge further indicated that the evidence have proven that the expenditure related to the printing and distribution of almanacs was authorized under the approval of the Treasury under the provisions of the Appropriation Bill. Declaring the verdict, the judge further pointed out that the evidence has revealed that the almanacs printing process had been carried out within an acceptable procurement procedure. Accordingly, the judge decided to acquit and release the defendants from the court case. And meanwhile, 4 persons were killed from an accident occurred on the railway crossing at Wellabada-Pansala Road in Rathgama. The accident occurred this morning at 11:30 a.m. A 3-wheeler had collided with the Rajaratha Rajani train, which was travelling from Mathura to Vavuniya. 4 members of the same family are reported to have died from the accident. The deceased have been identified as residents in Wellabada-Pansala Road. Further investigations will be conducted by the Rathgama police. Meanwhile, a bus belonging to Sri Lanka Transport Board, which was travelling from Colombo to Anuradhapura, has collided with a three-wheeler travelling towards Veruvilla from Kurunagala. 2 persons have died from the accident, while another 4 persons have been admitted to the hospital for treatments. The victims have been identified as residents in Veruvilla area.
And now on the pandemic situation here in Sri Lanka. The inoculation of citizens above the age of 20 years with the booster vaccine under the COVID immunization program is successfully underway across the country at present. Accordingly, health authorities indicated that more than 50,000 persons received vaccines yesterday. Meanwhile, the country recorded 1,137 COVID-19 infections today. Sri Lanka Army has initiated mobile vaccination services targeting all districts in the country to inoculate booster vaccines for all citizens. A vaccination program was held at the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation premises this morning to inoculate its staff members with the booster vaccine. The program was conducted by Sri Lanka Army Medical Corps. The program to inoculate the first dose of the Pfizer vaccine for students between the ages of 12 and 15 and the second dose of the same vaccine for the students between the ages of 16 and 19 was conducted across the country today. The Association for Registered Foreign Employment Agencies has donated 6 million rupees for the Itukama COVID-19 Healthcare and Social Security Fund. The relevant cheque was presented to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa at the Temple Trees yesterday. A total of 35,867,554 vaccine doses have been inoculated to the people in the country under the COVID-19 immunization program. Accordingly, 16,676,234 persons have received the first dose of the vaccine, while 13,930,315 have received both the doses. A total of 5,261,005 have received the booster dose thus far. The Director General of Health Services confirmed today 32 COVID-related deaths which occurred yesterday.
And on the same note, Deputy Director of National Health Services Dr. Hemant Herath emphasized the importance of getting the booster vaccine and urged people to get the booster vaccine as soon as possible to curtail the spread of the COVID-19 community transmission.
We know that the number of cases daily reported has gradually increasing, and the official reports indicate that the number of new cases reported daily has surpassed the 1,000 mark, and it appears that it is gradually increasing. And to prevent further escalation of these daily reporting numbers, it is very important to ensure that there is no spread of disease among the community, for which we always emphasize that the relevant adherence to the relevant health guideline is essential, and also in case if you get infected, to protect yourself, it is extremely important to get the booster vaccination. Now the reports have very clearly indicated that those who got infected and finally ended up in complications and ICU care and oxygen demand, majority are still those who have not got any vaccination, or those who have failed to get their booster vaccination are the people who are really getting into this category. So therefore it is extremely important to get the booster vaccine as early as possible. And also questions have been raised about the community transmission of Omicron vaccine. It is extremely difficult to, unlike previous days, to link each and every new case to a previous case. So therefore, it is scientifically not possible to exclude the cluster transmission. However, we know that large number of cases are emerging from the community, and rather than arguing on whether the community transmission is there or not, what is important is to adhere to the health guidelines and make sure that you are not contributing to the spread of the disease, and also get your booster vaccine so that you will be protected and your loved one will be protected by preventing the spread of the disease through you. So it is our plea of the Ministry of Health to act responsibly so that we all can defeat this virus.
Moving back to Sri Lanka, Ministry of Tourism says 82,327 tourists have arrived in the country in the first month of this year. The highest number of visitors was recorded on the 5th of January with 3,371. The most number of tourists in January has arrived from Russia with a total of 13,478. Arrivals from India are at 11,751, while a total of 7,774 tourists have arrived from Ukraine. The number of visitors arrived from United Kingdom is at 7,442. Tourists from Germany, France, Poland, Australia, Maldives and Kazakhstan have also arrived in the country. The most number of tourists in the year 2020 arrived from India with 89,357.
Embassy of Sri Lanka in Japan has organized a Sri Lankan cooking contest for the Japanese nationals. The semi-final rounds of that was held at a special studio in Tokyo recently. This studio is a professional studio dedicated for such competitions, and the contest was live broadcasted. In the preliminary rounds, the contestants were requested to record and submit the preparation of their favorite Sri Lankan dish. Accordingly, over 140 applicants were received by the embassy, and 45 contestants were selected by a panel of veteran chefs at the semi-final rounds. Each contestant was given a time of 1 hour to prepare the dishes in the semi-finals, which consist of 5 rounds. Accordingly, they were competed against to prepare creative dishes including Sri Lankan snacks and desserts. The final rounds of the competition will live broadcast, and 2 contestants have been selected from each of the 5 rounds in semi-finals.
Moving to more local stories, Sandaru Dilshan, a child who lost his right leg following a road accident, received an artificial limb from spouse of the Prime Minister, Mrs. Sri Lanka Rajapaksa. The event was held at the Temple Trees yesterday. Sandaru Dilshan currently studies in grade 7 at Buttala Katugahagalgegama Junior School. This child engaged in chili cultivation after school with the intention to collect money to purchase an artificial limb. Upon learning this child's effort, the principal of the school, DM Mrs. Dissanayake, conveyed the requirement of the child to the Prime Minister's spouse, Mrs. Shirante Wickramasinghe Rajapaksa. Accordingly, she took the initiative to provide an artificial limb to Sandaru Dilshan at the earliest. Sandaru Dilshan expressed his appreciation for the gifted artificial limb, which remained a dream for his from a long time. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa conveyed his well wishes to Sandaru Dilshan for his education.
And now let's take a local news in brief. Colombo High Court postponed the further hearings of the charges levelled against a group of respondents, including Minister Namal Rajapaksa. A lightweight protective vehicle for mines produced by Sri Lanka Army Electrical and Mechanical Engineers Regiment was observed by Sri Lanka Army Commander General Shavendra Silva. The vehicle has been manufactured under 2020-2025 strategic roadmap of the Army Commander. The vehicle will feature at this year's Independence Day Parade. The new Japanese language lab at Rajapaksa University was declared open yesterday with the participation of advisor to the Japanese embassy in Sri Lanka, Kawakatami Takayumi. Another 25 inter-provincial luxury bus services for 17 routes were launched today, further expanding the super luxury bus services operated along Makumbura Expressway to Galle, Mathura cities. The event was held with the participation of Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi. The police had apprehended 5 million rupees worth cannabis caged along the cultivation land operated in security Siripuragama Reserve in Thanamalvila. An operation was underway to remote trail wires installed to hunt animals in the 3,000-acre sanctuary surrounding the historic Galvihara sacred site in Polonnaruwa with assistance from Polonnaruwa Police, Civil Defence Corps and Sri Lanka Army. A 12-year-old elephant had died after suffering from an ailment which was caused through human activity in Kabetigo lava area.
Meanwhile, the No. 5 Fighter Squadron, known as the Black Drongos of Sri Lanka Air Force, celebrated its 31st anniversary today. The No. 5 Fighter Squadron has contributed its efforts promptly and effectively, conducting an excess of 600 counter-air and counter-surface force missions during the humanitarian operations. The fighter squadron was inaugurated on February 1991 at the Sri Lanka Air Force Base in Katunayaka with 2 FT-5 trainers. The squadron leader H.D. Abevikrama has appointed as its first commanding officer. The present commander of the Air Force, Air Marshal Sudarshana Patirana, was also a founder member of the No. 5 Fighter Squadron. The present commanding officer of the squadron is Wing Commander Roshan Pereira. This fighter squadron was successful in weakening the terrorists by targeting enemy front lines with bomb attacks and protect the frontline attacks during the humanitarian operations. No. 5 Fighter Squadron was awarded with President's colours considering the significant services rendered to the nation over the years and continued to commit for the sovereignty and the progress of the motherland with the state-of-the-art machinery and highly trained staff.
The farmers say that a successful harvest as well as a toxic-free meal can be achieved through organic fertilizer cultivation. They have pointed out that certain farmers are now involving in organic farming due to ignorance and negative attitude in this regard. A total of 148 acres of paddy fields in Wandeniya Gramanilidahara division in Dadigama electorate have been cultivated with organic fertilizer. Wandeniya Agrarian Association members have said that all farmers belonging to the association have only used organic fertilizer and liquid fertilizer for this season's cultivation. The reaping of harvest in several paddy fields began recently, while reaping of harvest in other paddy fields are expected to commence in the next couple of days. The farmers have pointed out that commitment, dedication and engaging in cultivation under the instructions of the agri officers are the reasons for a successful organic cultivation.
And on sports news, Sri Lankan badminton team achieved a historic feat after claiming one of the biggest achievements at a badminton tournament which determines world rankings. The Open Championship, termed as Open Super 100 Badminton Tournament, was held in Odisha, India. Sri Lankan badminton team returned to the island yesterday after successfully completing the tournament by clinching 1 gold medal and 1 bronze medal at the Odisha Open Badminton Championship. BMF 100 world ranking badminton players competed in this tournament organized by the International Badminton Association. Sri Lanka's Sachin Dias and Thilini Handaheva clinched the mixed double title at the tournament, while Bhuwanika Gunatilaka and Sachin Dias won the bronze medal in men's double category. Accordingly, this is the highest achievement ever to be recorded by Sri Lanka at a world ranking tournament in history.
And that's it for tonight's news. Do us tomorrow at the very same time. Stay safe. Good night.
Good night.